Okay, so right out of the chute, we're getting some really weird stuff. We're getting, um, on the back here, this is talking about Europe somewhere, and I don't know where or why, where that came through. I don't even really have a chance to read this before it comes up. This crown comes up and it instantly comes to the king's bastard. So this is very interesting already. Very, very interesting. This is, you are royalty adjacent but not acknowledged and not legitimized. Don't know what that's about. So this is definitely having connections with whoever is in charge and power in royalty connected. This feels European. I don't know that it's necessarily English, but it feels European. And this is the way things were done. This is the father coming through again, the king's bastard coming through, and the gift and the reward. This is somebody that was kept and paid. It feels like your mother was paid off, but your mother was very much involved with this person of authority. I mean, mistresses and all of this was just common. So this is how it goes. It makes you have a really challenging life. You feel impoverished. You feel odd man out because you don't get to interact with your father in the way that you would want. You see him here and there, but you don't see him all the time. And you're the one that needs to be kept like on the down low. You see things rejoicing. You see others rejoicing. You see things that is like happiness and there's praise, and you see the legitimates, and you feel very, very left out. I don't even know yet if you're a girl child or a boy child yet. I need to know this. You feel very, very ambiguous about where your role is, how you fit, and how you're going to continue to fit. It's like you feel a little bit rudderless and purposeless because you're not acknowledged. You can't decide what to do. Boy child coming in. You go really kind of on a slight war path, trying to prove yourself to your father quite a bit. Quite a bit. Like, there's almost like I could have just been a useless girl. If I would have been born a useless girl, maybe I'd get his attention, but I'm not even that. You're like disappointed that the legitimacy of your parentage is there, and your mother has not done bad. Your mother has not done wrong for her situation, and she hasn't done a shit job, but your mother's presence isn't in here so much. If you were a girl, maybe her presence would be in her more. It's not that she's been neglectful. It's just there's things that she cannot relate to. You're a dude in this one. The Emperor comes up again. The Queen of Swords. She's just very logic. Their relationship, it was logical. It was logical that whoever this is, the king, the emperor, whatever, would take liberties with the women that wanted to take liberties with him. It just didn't play out so good for you. And at the time, a pregnancy came out of this union between these two. And the marriage would never have changed. Never in a billion years would it have changed. It leaves you at odds with your brothers, your legitimate brothers. There's more than one. And you still see the celebrations. It's like you did get the shitty end of the stick as far as that goes. But that was your mother's choice and his choice. But you have this unfortunate circumstance. You don't like it very much. You kind of reject it. You see all the celebration for everybody else. There's jealousy going on. Jealousy and the sting of rejection, of not measuring up just by the sheer fact of your birthright that you would have got otherwise. But by the same token, you have more favor given to you because everybody that is in the know knows whose child you are. And it doesn't matter that you're the bastard child. It doesn't matter that you're the bastard son. You're getting certain perks and advantages, and your mother is too, because of the long association with this king, this emperor, this ruler, this person in charge. So you're above the station of the common man, but you're not legitimized, and that chaps your hide. Big. It's not all black and white. You want it to be, and this is like not the rare thing, but you want to be seen. You want your specialness honored. It's hard for you to understand this, and I think you know also you're not the only one that is the illegitimate. Your mother knows that she's not the only mistress on the side. Very interesting. Yeah, there is a little bit of conflict, a little bit of trickery, shenanigans, getting closer to the throne, getting closer to the man at the top. So you would have half siblings that were legitimate, and you have some half siblings that are not, that are more like you, but they are not as favored as you are. Of the illegitimates, you actually have more favor. So what is it you want? You want what you feel is your birthright, what you feel should be in your inheritance, but you weren't born to that mother, the queen that is actually the empress. You're born to the mistress, so you want that. You can't abide it anymore. Now, often when I'm doing these past lives, it comes at a point where you part company with somebody, or you go on a journey, and it feels like that you're ready to do this. You've gotten some bad advice. Somebody has played a trick on you, told you go play your way in the world, and somebody is playing a trick on you. This feels like another brother. It feels like this particular king could have boys quite plentiful with the mistresses. Didn't come so easily with the actual person who was the legitimate empress or whatever you want to call it. But it feels like your other brother has a harder labor life, and you go visit him and you're all mad. And while you're jealous of the higher station there, he's in some ways jealous of the station that you have and the favor that you have. And you feel like, well, what's this all about? Why am I just, dropped in where I'm dropped in? And the limitation feels around you as it does him. He's more settled with it. He understands more of the difference of the class structures and how it is. He doesn't see himself ever aspiring to anything aristocracy or even adjacent aristocracy coming of good houses. Is good houses? Yeah, of good houses. He doesn't see that happening for him. But you have a shot to be known as to be somebody from a good house. He feels like his station is a little bit lower. Very classist, but this is how it's coming through. There'll be honors and achievements for you, and you are the one that is very favored of the illegitimates. It feels like there are a few. This is his mother. This is something he can straddle both worlds a little bit easier, and he's making his way in the world. She's making her way in the world. They're a little bit more grounded, but they aren't of the same class. They're doing okay, but they come in a little bit reversed. They're doing okay. They're working. They're more like blue collar is how I would say it. They're not starving. They're not starving peasants, but they're more blue collar. And you're somewhere more honored, more acknowledged. You're learning that there's two others. It feels like there's 4 illegitimate sons of this guy that are known. These two, this one and this one, the one that is you and the one that is the blue collar guy, they're pretty known. The other two don't seem to factor in so strongly. And I don't know if he's just that big of a schmuck or what, but they don't seem to factor in that much. It's the contrast of these two, the contrast of you here, that also reminds me of the other contrast. What else is there to this? So you've been tricked, you go your way. I think you're trying to find the other brothers. It matters to you. This sense of belonging matters to you, and it's not there in the way you want it to be. Yeah, I think you go. I think you go for about 1.5 years. You don't go for a long time. It takes you a little bit of learning. There's no place like home. There's no place like home. That kind of flavor coming through here. You travel for about 1.5 years. You return back to your mother. She's well set. You've accomplished a few different things. This seems like it's one of your brothers that's not very good to women in general. He kind of is a dick. I think you encounter him, and I don't think you care for him, his temperament, or anything. I think they were him and his mother were very, very devalued by the biological father in this particular instance. And I don't think that there's any kind of friendship, any kind of bond, they're like, oh, sorry, I opened that door. That's the feeling that I get. That you regret seeing him, you travel a little bit more. Do you make the other one? The other brother isn't acknowledged because the other brother would be not masculine enough for the emperor, is what I'm getting. Because this comes through and it's like the other brother presents as a girl. The other brother, it's not a judgment from modern time. It's a judgment from previous time that they needed to present as very, very manly. You present as very, very macho gazpacho. But this brother, whether he was homosexual or bisexual or whatever, he just had a more effeminate way about him. I don't know what his sexuality is. I just know that's why he was rejected by the father, which really sucks. Boy. Yeah, he's having to do double the work on defending. I think that this guy, this one that's just kind of an asshole, you don't deal with. This one you check in on, but there's not a natural closeness. This one here, there's more of a closeness to, but there's also a little bit of a jealousy. You want to be more in the higher station. You don't want to be the low station, and he reminds you that you're stuck in the middle somewhere there. And he's not even that low of a station. This is like a really emotional and turbulent time. You've gone for about 1.5 years. You've found out things. You've made more success. You've made more progress in what it is you're doing. You return to this favored station where you do have good house behind you, good house backing you, and you finally figured out, well, you don't always get to choose the cards that you're dealt in life. You're going to use what you have, and you're going to move forward. I think you're going to help the youngest. Yeah, you do help the youngest. You do help the youngest. This one can come to you. You kind of keep it a little bit more on the down low, not because you have to keep it secret, but because you do look out for this one. You feel a little bit more of a big brother looking out for this one energy here. It shows that you get stable. It shows that you get very, very stable. And I don't think that you get stable or you even settle down and get stable until you're about 30. Very, very unusual. So you are not going to get caught up or hung up in the same way that your father did, where he can't even be loyal to one woman. You think he's ridiculous. Yeah, why is he so ridiculous to have 4 sons? How can you make that mistake 4 times is really it. And it's like a lack of understanding sometimes of how the social structure would be and how it was allowed to be. Is like from modern vantage point, there's like, seriously, looking back in history, but that was historic. From your vantage point, you just think he should have had more discipline, been more controlled. You understood that that's kind of how it went in your society, but a lack of understanding as far as him and his schmuckiness. Yeah, it's created a little bit of problems for you. I think that this guy has at least 8 children overall, which 4 of them are illegitimate, and I think he has 8 overall. Anything else about him? We're getting into the side of the family that's the more legitimate side now. The legitimate side definitely got the more material world, successful, preferential treatment. Very much so. Very much so. Yeah, that you see them as a bunch of layabouts that are just allowed every indulgence they could ever want. One of them's like a squawky gossip hag. Yeah, you don't like her at all. One of them is actually killed, and that causes you a little bit of sadness, causes you a little bit of sorrow, but not hugely so. You don't feel as much compassion for these legitimates because there has been such a difference created. Anything else? Do you have a family of your own? Yeah, you do. You do have a family of your own. Now, the blue-collar brother, he has his family before you start your family. But because he does actually quite well and understands his position, I think this one actually becomes a friend to you later on. Like maybe mid-20s to 30, you see him settling down, doing some of the more traditional things, even though it's a different station in life, and he's got quite a bit of happiness. You see this, and I think this makes you happy. And I think you think, well, maybe you could risk it. Maybe you could do something. This is how you get out of this craziness that you're so bummed that your birthright isn't legitimate. How you get out of this craziness is by creating a family of your own. And that's where the sense of the belonging kicks in. Finally, finally. This is your second chance at family. To rise above the station that you were born to as far as the social structures isn't possible. But to actually have what you consider legitimate family and behave in a more honorable way is what you can do, and it's what you choose to do. It's the path you carve out for yourself. You finally figure it out. You finally decide you're going to go forward. Yes, you do. That's what I've got. That's complete. Wow. Holy smokes. That's amazing. That's what I've got.